You've got mail.
This is a microphone. This is a microphone. This is a microphone.
This is a microphone.
And this is a microphone. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Yep, we're talking microphones today. What's up, everybody? Well, after my last video, a certain someone posted a comment in the comments section. I'm not going to say his YouTube name, but it rhymes with Staffa X, asking about various microphones and things like that. So I figured, you know what? I got some microphones lying around. I've been working on cleaning out my closet and some other parts of this place for the past couple of months, so why not do a little video about some of these mics that I've had over the years. Now, the thing with me and microphones is this. Now, I started out like various other folks who went from computer stuff to multimedia stuff, working with those cheap $10 stick mics that they used to make for computers back in the 90s. I think they still make them now, actually. You can get some cheap piece of junk stick microphone. I don't have one of those here because my last one broke. Surprise, surprise. And I haven't bothered replacing it, but I'll probably get another one at some point. In any event, these are some real mics that I've tried over the years, including this brand new one that I just got, the Blue Yeti, which he noticed in the last video's intro and asked me about it afterwards. But yeah, these are some actual microphones that can be plugged into computers. And so I figured, why not make a video about various microphones that I've had over the years. Now, of course, since we're talking microphones here, I'm not actually going to pan the camera around and, lift up the mic and say, this is this mic and that is that mic. No. These are microphones we're talking about here, not antique cars or anything like that. There's really not much to see here except a bunch of microphones on a table. So what I'm going to do is we're going to switch into radio style mode and then talk about these microphones using the microphones you see here. That would make a heck of a lot more sense. So let's quit yip-yapping here and get right to what counts.
MultimediaJay radio style.
On my way to record these segments, I did have a little bit of nostalgia for the cheap generic stick mics they used to make for computers back in the 1990s. The first microphone I ever actually owned was a piece of junk stick mic similar to this one that Radio Shack made in the 1990s that actually took batteries. Yeah, these stupid things. There were actually some of these stupid stick mics that actually took batteries back then and wouldn't work without them. It's the only stick mic I've ever owned that required batteries. I don't know what the deal was with that. Who cares? Radio Shack doesn't sell anything like that anymore. I think nowadays they sell other brands and stuff, not their own. But anyways, I haven't seen a stick mic that required batteries since then. Now, because I wanted to record each segment of this using these various types of microphones, and I don't actually have a stick mic right now, the last stick mic that I had, like this one, actually broke many, many years ago, and I haven't bothered getting a new one since then. But I have been thinking I should probably find a new one somewhere. And why would I do that, you might ask? Simple. Radio-ish sounds. So in other words, if you want to make something that sounds like someone talking into a two-way radio or a trucker on a CB or something like that. I used to record sounds that way. Basically, these mics, when they distort, if you distort the living daylights out of them, then drop the sample rate way down, it can very easily sound like either a telephone or a CB radio or a two-way radio, and it's good for recording that kind of an effect. But that's about the only use I can think of these days for these cheap stick microphones. If anybody wants to do some serious recording, these things are practically a McDonald's toy, for crying out loud. And usually they're like 10 bucks or so. If you see one of these on sale for over $20, turn and run. These things just aren't worth it most of the time. So yeah, cheap stick mic now has a niche product. Now you may be wondering, how in the world did I record this if I don't actually have one? Well, to simulate the crappy quality, what I decided to do for this section is record all of this using the voice recorder feature on my MP3 player from 2006. I figured the crappy built-in microphone on that thing should be more than good enough to record a segment about crappy stick mics. And I'll transition to the next microphone with some CB radio type sounds and whatnot that I'd use a microphone like this for nowadays. But other than that special effect, I have no use for these little stick mics whatsoever. Computers have just come too far since the days when these things reigned supreme when it came to computer microphones.
This stuff is ugly, so you can kiss it. What's for 20? I'm in Suckerland. Over. Calling all units, respond to an 887 hostage situation. Red alert, they're coming to steal the parts. Everybody batten down the hatches.
Now this microphone might sound a little bit more familiar to you if you've been watching my videos for any length of time. This was my main mic before getting the Yeti. This is, believe it or not, a Radio Shack Optimus unidirectional mic. Cost about $30 back in the day. I just wandered into a local Radio Shack store and picked one of these up. Got a windscreen for it. I originally had a stand. I think I got this my sophomore year in college. Used it for a lot of sound recording. I got it with a little metal stand. I think I lost the stand and stuff. And I also got an adapter so I could plug it into the crappy computer I had at the time to record sound. Basically, I was looking for sound quality that was better than what you could get from one of those stick mics, and this thing has delivered for years and years and years. I don't know how it's held up all this time. I'm not used to this kind of longevity from Radio Shack stuff, but for some odd reason it has. This thing has been through a ton in the last several years. It's been back and forth to campus. It's been sloshed around in duffel bags. When I was doing my radio show my last 2 years in college, I actually recorded some production stuff in my room in college with this mic plugged into a computer. And so this thing's been all over the place. I'm surprised it's lasted as long as it did. The windscreen even is kind of holding up rather well. Granted, if you want a decent studio-ish mic of this type, you're not going to get one of these. You're probably going to get a Shure SM58 instead, but the SM58s are usually close to $100, so plus you got to get the cable, plus you got to figure out how you're going to plug it into the computer. Do you need a good sound card? You know, can you get a sound card with a preamp in case it requires some extra power from a mixer? Things along those lines. But this old Optimus thing has just worked and worked and worked, and it still works. And if I ever want to use this type of mic, this is what I have, but I'm sure this will probably eventually take backstage to the Blue Yeti. But for years and years and years, this was my main mic. All these voiceovers that you've been hearing me do in these videos, most of them, if they haven't been done with a headset mic, they've been done with this one. So this is probably the best results I've ever gotten from any Radio Shack anything over the years. I'm not saying go running to your nearest Radio Shack and get one. I don't know what they're selling these days. I mean, this is the mic. This mic's actually getting close to 10 years old, actually. So yeah, it's been through a lot. It still works for whatever reason, and it's a real mic, so it sounded a lot better than those stick mics that they were selling for computers at the time. Anyways, I'm rambling. On to the next microphone. Okay, and now the Jensen. This was a mistake. And not only was it a mistake, it was an impulse purchase. And not only was it a mistake and an impulse purchase, but it was a Kmart special. Basically, after I got the Optimus from the Radio Shack mic that I just got done speaking through, I was wandering through a mall near the college one day when I was in college, and I happened to see, I was wandering through a Kmart, and I saw a Jensen mic, and it was a real mic, and it had a small plug on the end, so I wouldn't need an adapter to plug it into the computer. So I'm like, you know what? Radio Shacks, I've traditionally found Radio Shack stuff to be cheap. Let's try this and see if it's any better. Sure, the brand and the price suggested that it probably wouldn't be, but I figured let's just try it anyways. I'm sure it speaks volumes that the Kmart that I originally got this thing from has been out of business for years. Anyways, yeah, I messed up. It didn't sound as good, so ultimately this thing just sat in a closet as like a backup mic or something if the Optimus ever kicked the bucket or something like that, or broke like a lot of Radio Shack stuff I had at the time I had this nasty tendency to do. I would have something I could plug into the computer until I can get around to buying something better. It never happened. For whatever reason, the Radio Shack thing actually lasted, and this thing just sat and sat and sat. And this is probably the first time I've had it hooked up in a really long time. I'm talking years and years and years here.
Listening to it now, though, with the windscreen, even with the crappy quality and stuff like that, it sounds kind of like talk radio. It sounds like something out of an FM radio. So if I ever want record voiceovers or whatever to sound like they're coming from a radio or something like that, or somebody's stereo system, without having to edit the sound whatsoever, I'll break out this mic. But until then, back to the closet with this piece of junk. Next! Okay, Philips time. Now, following the disappointment that was the Jensen mic, I made one more impulse purchase before I decided to just knock it off and give up. It was this Philips microphone, which was in a similar price range. Same deal as before. It was an impulse purchase. I was wandering through a department store, and I saw, or maybe it might have even been a supermarket. Yeah, buying microphones from a supermarket. That's a bad sign. But anyways, so I saw this, and I was like, hey, Philips, I recognize the brand. Therefore, it's probably better than the Radio Shack one, right? Wrong. This one, as you can probably hear from the muddier, bassier sound, is down there with the karaoke mics you'd find on a little My First Karaoke box or something like that. I think, what was that thing called? Not Star Search. There was this, I think it was called the Star Stage. I had a toy back in the 80s when I was a little kid. I think it was called like the Star Stage, and had a crappy plastic microphone, a battery-powered amplifier that sucked D batteries or something like that, and lights and stuff so you could pretend to be a rock singer back during the heydays of hair bands and whatnot. I think this microphone is almost as bad as the one with that kitty toy I had back when I was a little kid back at the end of the 80s. So yeah, just because you recognize the brand as an actual brand name in the electronics world doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good. That was a hard lesson learned for me, and since I already messed up twice in trying to find a cheap real mic to plug into the computer that was better than the Radio Shack one I had, I didn't want to strike out, so I just gave up and stuck with the Radio Shack one since then. I don't know what I'd use this mic for nowadays, maybe as a backup or something like that, but it's sound quality wise, I don't think it's any better. It's probably a little bit worse than the Radio Shack one. So anyways, this is the Philips with the windscreen, giving it the benefit of the doubt. The windscreen just makes things sound a little bit better when you don't sound like a comedian spitting into the microphone with all the plosives from the P's and B's and other stuff like that. Anywho. Ah yes, and now we get to headset mics. Now granted, a headset mic is not going to be the first thing that I reach for if I want to record voiceovers. It's really sort of a niche product when you really need both hands free, you can't have anything in front of you. Like for example, gaming videos and whatnot, when I need to have, say, a keyboard, a joystick, a mouse, and I don't want to have a microphone or a big stand or anything in my way. I just want it to be me in the game and me talking as I play. Headset mics are the easiest for that, but sound quality wise, no. They're kind of in the middle. The good ones that I've heard over the years are kind of in the middle between real mics and those cheap computer stick mics and all those cheap microphones they put in kid toys, MP3 players, and other sorts of stuff, etc. So yeah, a headset mic would not be my first choice. If I went headset mic for anything, it would be something like this pair that I have here, this little Sennheiser that I have. It's actually, I'm a big Sennheiser fan these days. I found out after graduating college and ordering my first set of Sennheiser stuff that, yeah, it costs more, but Sennheiser stuff actually lasts. I've never actually had a Sennheiser anything break on me. Now, I've been klutzy and broken Sennheiser stuff before by accident, but from normal wear and tear, I've never had Sennheiser anything break on me. I've mistreated stuff before, yes, but in terms of equipment giving out on me, I've never had any kind of Sennheiser anything show any signs of any trouble whatsoever. So I'm still waiting for the first trouble I've ever had with Sennheiser or anything. But anyways, before this video turns into a Sennheiser commercial, let's talk about headset mics a little bit more. As you can tell, the sound quality doesn't even come close to what you get from a real mic, but if you need the convenience of a headset or you're gaming or something like that, you could probably get away with one of these. I've actually seen some of the game reviewers on YouTube use these before. If they cut to a shot of them playing the game while talking, wearing their headsets and whatnot. I've used this headset for some play some stuff videos before. So that's really the kind of thing I'd use a headset mic for. But there's just too many issues with headset mics. I'd rather use a real mic if I can help it. Plus, as you can probably hear, even though this thing did come with a built-in windscreen on the microphone, there's still some plosive noise that's making it onto the recording. So anyways, that's enough headset mic stuff for now. I'm sure you're all waiting and chomping at the bit to hear the Blue Yeti for the first time ever in one of these videos. Let's hook that beast up and get to the grand finale here. And now, finally, at long last, the Blue Yeti makes his debut on this channel. The Blue Yeti is in the same class as the Shure SM58 pretty much, just got a different form factor. It's a tabletop condenser style mic instead of a concert style dynamic mic. You know, the ones like, think like someone doing a radio broadcast or doing a press conference or something on, or a classic radio picture where someone's talking to a mic like that. Yeah, one of those types of mics. I picked this up because apparently it is the podcasting mic these days. Been hearing lots of good things about it, so I figured, oh, let's try it out. It was either this or the SM58, so I figured let's try this first just for the heck of it. Plus, I wouldn't have to mess with stands or preamps or anything of that sort. Now, this mic has taken some getting used to on my part because I've never worked with USB microphones before, so it was weird when the computer actually treated this like a sound device and could send the sound to it, so I can have real-time monitoring and things along those lines and all kinds of neat stuff like that. So it was really neat to see this, and so I got to see this and hear it and have it be a sound device and stuff, and have the computer actually bypass the sound card and everything to record off of this thing, which is kind of neat. It also lets me know that if it's too sensitive like it is now, if I shut up, you'll probably be able to hear the computer going in the background because this thing is really sensitive, even with the gain turned down. I'm gonna have to do some more tweaking with this to really fine tune this, but oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely a sound device, that's for sure. The good news is if the desktops are too loud, I can just plug this into a laptop and use it as a sound recording device and bypass the piece of junk built-in sound chips, I think. It only records 16-bit audio, though, which is a bummer, because the sound cards I have can handle up to 24-bit. But I imagine it's kind of like a numbers game at some point, where 16-bit audio on this will probably sound better than 24-bit audio in some of the cheaper mics that I've talked about earlier. Now, of course, I've got a pop filter this time around because I wanted to try one out as opposed to a windscreen, but I could always use both if I really wanted to. But for now, I just want to try pop filter for a bit, see how that works out, and do some more experimenting. So yeah, I got this instead of the SM58. I hope I don't regret it, and I hope I can put this to better use. This microphone is like a fast car. When you get in and you just want to drive fast. This thing has so many options in recording things like that, and recording stuff that I haven't worked with before, that it actually makes me want to record voiceovers with the whole 9 yards and everything. So we'll have to do some fine tuning to see how I can get everything sounding with this new piece of equipment. But yeah, this is the Blue Yeti, finally making its debut here on the MultimediaJay channel.
Well, for StuffX and everybody else that's been tuning in that just listened to all that, I hope this gives you all the information you're looking for when it comes to sound differences between various cheap microphones. With the one exception, of course, of this beast right here, the Yeti is not an inexpensive mic. At least not by our standards as amateurs. Sure, you know, studios would probably think this thing's like a nerd toy or something like that for computer geeks that want to sound like they actually know a thing or two about real audio recording, but yeah, this is about in the same price range as the Shure SM58, so you're pushing the 3-digit mark if you get something like this. I think this is supposed to retail for like $150 or something, or at least $100. It's definitely a 3-digit microphone, except I picked this up at a sale at B&H Photo and Video for about $80 or so. So I still haven't crossed that threshold where I'm such an AV nerd that I'm messing with 3-digit microphones or headphones yet. So yeah, sure, there's probably some studio technicians out there that are gonna laugh at me saying, "Ha, wannabe," etc., etc., etc. This is around the same price range as the Shure SM58, which most folks I know who've done anything with real pro audio over the years will tell you that the SM58 is kind of like the bread and butter mic for studio-ish recording. Now, granted, studios, man, they throw money all over the place, and some of them have audio equipment that costs more than some people's cars. But us amateurs, you know, this is like heaven to a lot of us. So, anyways, this pop filter's coming loose. There we go. Now it's tight again. The pop filter was dirt cheap too, so I might wind up getting something a little better if this thing just doesn't cut the mustard. Yeah, whatever. It's only a single pop filter as well. Anyways, I'm rambling yet again. I apologize. I hope this gives you folks some ideas on the differences in sound quality between various cheap mics and whatnot. And I think this video has gone on long enough. So, till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.